Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day in the United States. It was Mother's Day in Portugal
last week here.
Yes. I think that we find it important to make sure that we are giving you information, not just to mothers, but to all folks of a certain age on how to become free from their JOBs, right?
Yeah, definitely. They want to become de-institutionalized.
Exactly.
I was going to say uninstitutionalized.
Uninstitutionalized,
De-institutionalized.
and it's interesting because we've had a call from a subscriber, a one-on-one coaching call, and that was like 2 weeks ago. That was the first time that I had heard the term uninstitutionalized from in reference to a job. And then probably within the same week, we get a question from a subscriber. So if you watch our Thursday shorts, and we're always asking for subscribers to send us questions that you would like us to answer in a Thursday short. Well, this question came in, but we thought it was a little bit too deep and all-encompassing for a Thursday short, so we are doing it today.
Needed a longer conversation,
right? And so that specific question was,
the question came to us from a subscriber was to help us find steps to become uninstitutionalized. You've been laughing at me all day for messing that word up. To become uninstitutionalized from our jobs, working for 10, 20, 30, or 40 years, and afraid to make the step into freedom.
So this person already has financial independence, but is a bit hesitant. I cannot tell you how many people that we have coached who are already at full fire or coast fire or FI, right? If you're of a certain age, maybe it's not retire early, right? But you're already at financial independence, and still either they don't know or they are afraid to take that leap. So we are going to talk about not only how you become deinstitutionalized, but the steps that you can take to actually make that bridge.
And it's kind of nerve-wracking, when you retire or you quit or whatever, and you don't have that constant check coming in anymore, so you get a little nervous.
I can understand that. And, especially for those folks who do not yet qualify for Social Security or some other, check that you're going to get on a regular basis. But here's the thing, folks. If you have planned correctly, it's going to be all right.
You'll be okay.
It's going to be all right. And we're going to talk about that and a lot more. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. So my name's Halise.
And I'm Rick. Welcome to Our Black Utopia.
On our channel, we talk about money, we talk about travel, and retire abroad. We help folks who look like us, who are getting close to retirement age and forgot to plan, get their money straight so that they can retire on time or maybe even early. And interestingly, a lot of y'all already got your stuff together and don't even realize.
True.
Right? But first, if you are new to our channel, then you might not know. About 8 years ago, Rick and I got a wake-up call. We looked at our money, and it looked crazy.
I'm not going to say it.
Action VJ will say it for you.
Crazy!
But about 4 years ago, we got our financial act together, and we went from negative 22,000 to over 1.1 million in net worth. Y'all, if we can do it, you can do it too.
You can do it.
If any of this sounds interesting to you, please hit that subscribe button. Go ahead. About 50% of you who watch us are not subscribed. So hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so that you know every single time that we go live or drop a new video, right?
Yep.
And if you find this subject matter intriguing, then hit that like as you come in. Breaking those chains can be scary, Action VJ says. Y'all know who our friends are because they're all up in the comments and we always mention them. All you have to do is come to Portugal and break bread with us, and you'll be in that crew too. So before we get started, I want to get a definition of being institutionalized in your mind, so we're working from the same framework. So, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, institutionalized is if someone becomes institutionalized, they gradually become less able to think and act independently.
Yeah.
Because of having lived for a long time under the rules of an institution, okay? And so I want you to think about being institutionalized as bigger than just the corporation or the government entity that you may be working for. Think of it more in terms of the institution of American capitalism, because it's really done a number on us. And so when we started doing our research, the first thing that I started thinking of when I started reading some of the things about breaking free of the chains of a W-2, right? Because it's not, if you've got the money, then it's not just about the money, right? It's not just about the fact that you need a paycheck coming in, because you've already got enough money to meet expenses for the foreseeable future. So then what is it really about?
Right.
And that led me to thinking about the Willie Lynch letter. All right, before we even get started, don't get up in our DMs talking about that's a hoax. We know that it has already been inauthenticated as the veracity of not what it's saying, but who said it and when. All right, so we know that. However, it outlines the tactics of controlling and manipulating individuals who were enslaved by sowing distrust and division among them. Distrust and division among them. So when you think about yourself within the workplace and you compare that to what was done to us as a people, for generations and generations and generations. And yeah, no, I was never enslaved. You were never enslaved. My mama was never enslaved. My grandmama was never enslaved. But my grandmother was raised by someone who was born on the plantation. My grandfather was raised by someone who was born on the plantation. Let's not get it twisted. We ain't that far removed. My grandparents were raised by a person who was born on the plantation. So those thought processes are passed on from generation to generation to generation. As a matter of fact, even neurologists have said that trauma is in our DNA. So the trauma of lack, the trauma of abject poverty, the trauma of not knowing where your next meal is going to come from, all because of the color of your skin, is in our DNA. Every single one of us who are the descendants of folks who were enslaved. So we know that the Lynch letter, was not written in the 1700s or whatever whoever came up with it. I want to know who came up with this, because whoever did was genius.
They did, yeah.
They were genius, because what it said was true. So using division, distrust, and manipulation to maintain control. Using division, manipulation, to maintain control, and distrust to maintain control. And you think about how we operate in America. It's interesting, because as we were doing research for this, I remember reading I think it was in the Harvard Business Review, and they were talking about the different phases of our life. And they said that there's 3 phases. The first phase is the educational phase, which is the shortest. Of course, for those of us who go into trade or take over a family business, maybe they don't go to college, that education period is shorter. And then if you do college or grad school on to a terminal degree, it's a little bit longer. The biggest phase, Harvard Business Review said, is our working years.
Oh, yeah.
And then we get to enjoy our golden years, which, if we retire when we get the absolute, maximum amount of Social Security, it's 70 years old.
Yeah.
70. I'm sorry. So we spend from 0 to 20, let's just say, learning. And then from 21, 22 until 69, working our butts off in an institution that is created to manipulate and control us. And then we die. Oh, and then we get to have fun. We get to enjoy the fruits of our labors. Well, I claim bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully we don't get sick within those, latter years. We can stay as healthy as possible.
Exactly. So we're going to start off by talking about how, if you don't know what the Lynch letter is, just Google it. But don't go away right now. Just open up another tab and Google it, because we are going to talk about the what that person was talking about in the Lynch letter, and how slave owners were able to create a sense of control, mental control, without having to necessarily keep us in chains, and how that control and manipulation has endured for centuries. But first, let's say hello to who's in the chat. So is that deep enough for you? Hey, Marguerite.
Hey, Marguerite.
So Marguerite was talking about she was sorry she missed the wine tasting because, she's on an island somewhere. She's on an island somewhere. We feel so bad for you, Marguerite. It's a hard life. It's a hard life. Hey, Valerina, good to see you in the chat. And we have Deneen Rogers. Happy Mother's Day. I'm quitting my job tomorrow. Woohoo! And looking forward to hearing you talk on this subject today. Yes, well, I hope that we do not disappoint. Action VJ is in the house. Happy Mother's Day to all moms. That's me. And stepmoms. Actually, all of us have probably mothered someone, even if you are a male person, right? We really have. And so Helen says, Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
And Callie CJ. So we've got two new names. Deneen, I didn't recognize, and Callie CJ, I don't recognize. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are new, hey, Jeanette, good to see you. Been offline for a bit. Yeah, we know, and welcome back. We know who our peoples are, right, Helen? And Kay Renee, we know who our peoples are. Vanessa is in the house. Maria's in the house. I don't know why I'm doing that. I do have the mouse here that I can use. And Jametta is in the house.
Hey, Jametta.
Bobby.
Hey, Bobby.
We haven't seen you in a while. So every second Saturday of the month, Beyond the Bling, the financial course for late bloomers, has group coaching. Every second Saturday, Bobby. That's all I'm going to say. Hey, Diane. Happy Mother's Day to you, too. Dee Dee McCrae is in the house. Lenora's in the house. Hey, Dr. O, another new name, or you've changed your name. Pretty picture. Love it. Hey, Meriton. Not soon enough. Hey, good to see you. Happy Mother's Day to you, too. Allison and Tanya's in the house. Nicole living that saudade life. Yes. Tanya is in the house. Hey, Pinky. Here, Killer Queen. Yay. We know you are happily retired. We know. TJ is in the house. Good to see you. Hey, Artful Inside. Jess is in the house, and the ABX girl. Oops. Diane Marie, voiceover. Wait, have we seen this? Dion Marie. Voiceover, I remember because I've always wanted to do voiceovers for books. I'm not sure. If so, I'm sorry that I've forgotten, but if not, welcome. Hey, Yakota. Can't wait to see you in June. Looking forward to I Create My Path. Yay. Hey, Midlife. Money Moves. Greta is in the house.
Yes.
And happy Mother's Day to you, too. I got your text. Hey, Lynn. Good to see you. Valerina. I think people are not even aware that they are in that state. Indoctrination has an effect as well. Yes. Caribbean. So I'm thinking Miami and Caribbean. Am I getting that right? I love the name. I love the creativity. Hey, Professor. All right, y'all. We are going to go ahead and get started. We love you all. And we are so, so grateful that you are in the chat. I'm going to start starring some of these things. For those of you who are a little bit newer, I'm going to go ahead and put up this banner. If you have a comment or a question that you want us to put on air, then please put a Q in front of it, and that will help me go through them really quickly. All right. So, in a workplace context, right, the tactics that Willie Lynch talked about in the Lynch letter, Willie Lynch, can manifest in various forms of discrimination, bias, and inequality, right? So, for those of you who don't know what the Willie Lynch letter is, as I said, it has been proven that it is not historically well, not valid. It is valid, but it does. It's valid, but it's not a true letter. Like this Willie Lynch person never existed, never wrote this letter, etc. Whoever created this, though, got it right and basically said, what we will do is we will pit the light skin against the dark skin, the young against the old, the women against the men, the house Negroes against the field Negroes, etc., etc., etc. You get it, right? And so if we think about that in context of America and what it has done. Like, for instance, I love the anti-racist Tim Wise. Tim Wise is a Jewish guy who lives in Tennessee, and I consider him an acquaintance of ours.
Yeah.
And a very, very cool guy. And one of the things that he, educated me about from his research is that the term white people did not exist before the start of this country. A lot of you already know that. So when Europeans came to America, they were Italian, they were British or English,
French.
They were Scottish, they were Irish, they were French, they were Portuguese, right? They were Spanish. They were not white. And then there were all of us, the folks who were brought over from Africa who became enslaved. We didn't become who they enslaved, right? And so there were more of us than there were of them. So in order for, and in the very, very, very early days, we were brought over as indentured servants. White folks were brought over as indentured servants as well. And so they started seeing the indentured servants kind of, creating a union. And they're like, oh no.
We got to separate this.
We can't let this go down because there's more of them than there are of us, right? And so what did they do? They said, okay, if you are a white male, and they described white males as people coming from Europe, who is a landowner, then you have the right to vote. But them darkies, they ain't got the right to vote. So that was the first step in the divide and conquer, all right? Now, just as the letter instructs to pit different groups of enslaved individuals against each other based upon age, gender, and skin color, employers or managers may perpetrate divisions among employees based on characteristics such as race, gender, education, and other identities, right? This can create a hostile and competitive workplace environment where individuals feel pitted against each other rather than working together towards a common goal. And it's interesting to me that, well, when unions were first created, people who looked like us were not allowed in the unions. Thankfully, by the time my grandfather came of age, he was in a union, and to see the difference in his life and what they were able to accumulate as opposed to the other side who was not in a union was vast and drastic. Unions unify, right? Divide and conquer. There's less unions today, y'all. They have less power today. So who is sticking up for the employees? Who is sticking up for the employees? And how often do we talk about the fact that, especially those of us who have moved abroad, like, where were y'all? Where were y'all when I was in America? I've never had this much camaraderie with folks, right? Until we moved over here. But here's the difference. We're not competing. We are not competing. There are some folks who move abroad who bring that lifestyle with them. But by and large, we are not competing. Like Rashida Dow says, I don't have any competition. We don't have any competition. We don't have any competition on YouTube. We don't have any competition for financial courses. Yes, there are other folks out there doing it, but they're not our competition. They're just other folks doing it, right? There is enough to go around. But in America, they have decided to create this illusion that there is a finite pie, and that if this person gets a piece, that's less left over for you. And especially when it comes to people of color, and specifically Black people, I remember being told when I was in the entertainment industry, and I came to pitch a movie that had Will Smith in it. They said, we already have a Black movie. As if it's competition. As if no one else would want to see that movie with Will Smith in it, except for folks of African descent. So that divide and conquer is the first thing that we see on the job that creates that institutionalized mind. And it's so insidious and so ubiquitous that we don't even realize it's happening.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Distrust and dependence.
The letter emphasizes that, right? The letter says, make sure that the enslaved do not trust each other. Who were the enslaved? Folks who look like us. But only trust the slave master.
Yep.
Make sure that the employees do not trust each other, but only trust the boss. Only trust the corporation. I'm just saying, right?
Yeah, because within a workplace setting, it's manifests into unequal power dynamics.
Exactly. And so we basically, the system that has been set up is to make sure that we only trust the oppressors. And the sad part about it is that some people who look like us do get into those positions of power, and then they continue to oppress. I think it was Frantz Fanon who said, the oppressed imitate the oppressors. We don't want to be that. So where marginalized groups feel that they must rely on those in positions of authority for validation, advancement, or protection, right? Leading to feelings of dependence and more vulnerability. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
It is especially familiar. That vulnerability is especially familiar if you're living paycheck to paycheck. And unless you make minimum wage or close to minimum wage, there's no reason why you should be living paycheck to paycheck. And even if you do make minimum wage, you got to find a way out of that. Not out of making minimum wage per se today, but spend less. Like, I remember talking to somebody and she's like, well, I said, you need to find a roommate. And she had 1,000 excuses about why that wouldn't work, but still was not in a position to make more money. And it's like, something's got to give. Something's got to give. The only way to not feel like you are dependent upon that system is not to have to depend on that paycheck. And the only way to do that is to spend less than you make. If you don't know how to do that, be on the bling. Be on the bling. Financial education for late bloomers. All right. Number 3.
Internalized oppression.
Yes. So the letter suggests that the indoctrination or of distrust and division would become a self-perpetuating thing. A self-perpetuating thing over generations.
Yeah.
Over generations. Similarly, in the workplace, marginalized individuals may internalize negative stereotypes, right? Or biases about their own identity group, leading to self-doubt, leading to imposter syndrome, or a lack of confidence in their abilities. This internalized oppression can further perpetuate inequalities and hinder professional advancements. Now, we're not here to talk about professional advancements, but I think it's all interesting because how many people who look like us have talked about imposter syndrome? How many people who look like us have talked about, I don't know, especially those of us who have not gone to college. You can be as smart as I don't know what, but if you have not gone to college, I don't know if I qualify, and all of this other stuff. Chad ain't saying that. Chad is not saying that, but these systemic problems have not affected Chad, right? You got to, they need to like channel their inner Chadness.
Channel your inner Chadness?
Yeah. Even the stuff that you're mediocre about. Puff your chest out.
Yeah.
Puff your chest out.
Show that confidence.
Right? Because Chad is mediocre as F and still will show up like large and in charge.
This is true.
Right? All right. Number 4, and then we're going to get into the steps to deinstitutionalize your mind. Number 4.
Intersectionality. That's a big word.
Yeah. It's interesting because I didn't hear about the word of intersectionality until I started working in the nonprofit world. And usually when talking about intersectionality, they're talking about the fact that, issues that affect women and issues that affect Black folks sometimes intersect, for instance, right? And so that's what they mean by intersectionality. So because the letter instructs us to pit different groups against each other, including dividing based upon gender and skin color, right? So in the workplace, as a Black woman, that's a double strike. That's a double strike. And so the intersection of gender bias and then the intersection of racial bias come together to create a even more dire workplace environment for Black women, for brown women, right? For other women of color and those of us who have been marginalized by the systemic oppression and racism that is America. It can create a complex dynamic in the workplace.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's see what you all are talking about. So what we wanted to do is create the framework of what we are talking about before we have to identify what the problem is before we can get to what the solution is. The problem is that we've been gaslit. The problem is that coming from a people that have been oppressed, we have a different mindset, especially Gen X and baby boomers, as opposed to millennials and Gen Z, because Jabari wasn't putting up with a lot of that crap. You remember? And I remember when he would come home and complain about the things that we put up with. And I'm like, look, that's just how it is. You just got to buck down and you got to keep your head down and do what you're doing.
So we were taught.
I don't know that I was ever taught that per se, but I was taught that. It was implied. It was implied.
Well, you're a Gen Xer.
True. But I would say in the oldest year of Gen Xers, we found that out too. So, my mom and dad did say you've got to work twice as hard to get half as much. They did say that.
Got to work twice as hard to make half as much. Don't make no waves.
And my parents didn't say that because my parents were wave
makers. Mine said it. It didn't make me any difference because I was going to.
Yeah, you are a wave maker. He's a wave maker. He told the mayor of Denver to chill. Yeah, he was working for him. He's like, dude, just chill in front of God and everybody. So he's a wave maker. Yeah, we didn't fit into no boxes, did we?
No, but I'm just saying, growing up and listening to grandma and mom and dad and aunts and uncles, in order to do this, you have to don't cause any issues, don't cause any trouble. Just almost keep your head down and just.
Yeah, and maybe they won't notice that you're Black. You're right. To tell you how crazy it is, when my father graduated from college, he got an engineering job in aerospace. And in those days, I remember him telling me he got sent home from wearing a light blue shirt with his suit. You could only wear white shirts with your suit. Yeah, that's how,
wow.
Right? How things have changed. So as a graduation present, his grandfather, who also was born on the plantation, his grandfather gave him a gun. And his grandfather was also legally blind by that age. And so, he gave him that gun, I'm going to give you, this is your present. He said, now, I know you got that good white folk job, but you still might need this. Okay. That is the mentality. That is the mentality that our grandparents, our great grandparents had, that was passed on to our parents, that was passed on to us, right? It is that feeling that you cannot trust the system to be fair. It is the mentality that you never know what's going to happen, right? And you might as well prepare for the worst, because the worst is going to happen. It's not hope for the best, prepare for the worst. No. The worst is going to happen. And then to make matters even worse, Gloria Vincent, my mommy, she would say, why would you want to stop working? Well, why the heck not?
Yeah.
Right? But in her mind, working was the ultimate thing. I don't know, y'all. She doesn't seem like she's having any problems not working these days. She does not seem like she has any problems. Okay, there's no questions. Then we're going to continue on. Let me see. Let me make sure. Oh, wait. Benoit, white shirts. Yes. Okay, here we go. It wasn't refreshing for some reason. Okay, go away. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. I mean, so we were talking about this, and it's like our dream jobs when we were, quote unquote, kids. Tim Wise is the bomb. Tim Wise is the bomb. So
he is truly.
If you don't know who he is, y'all, Google him and look him up. Look him up. All right. So we were talking about our dream jobs when we were kids. And when I say kids, I mean 20s. Rick was singing. He was out there on the road with his group doing his thing. And I was in the studio when I was in my 20s, singing and trying to do my thing, trying to be the first Beyonce or whatever. And I asked him, I said, if we were still doing that, could we disassociate our identity from our job? And we had to pause, right? Because it's really easy for folks who wanted to be in entertainment, right? It's really easy to say, what's the deal? Because everything else was plan B. Like working behind the scenes in the entertainment industry, for me, that was plan B. And then transitioning into, corporate America and politics and that was all plan B, C, D, E, F. Some of it I had never even thought about. Plan A was, being in entertainment. My parents were in entertainment. I wanted to be in front of the camera, not behind the camera, or I wanted to do both, actually. And so that was plan A. And I don't know how easy. It's really easy to sit here not having had a dream job and say, just disassociate yourself from it. Allison says, a coworker told me I shouldn't retire early because I would leave free money on the table. I should retire at 67. My argument in those years aren't guaranteed. My argument was those years ain't guaranteed. Okay, so I'm going to take that piece now.
There you go.
I don't know what she means by free money, but I can tell you that there is no such thing. Unless you're walking down the street and you find $100 bill on the ground,
you got to give up something.
There is no such thing as free money. Bonuses are not free money. You earned that, right? So profit sharing is not free money. You earned that. Getting $1,800 a month as opposed to $1,500 a month if you wait from 62 to 67 or whatever is not free money. You earned that. It is an earned benefit. You put money, you had money taken out of your check 20 years ago.
Yeah, you paid
for the hope that you might live to be 67 years old. Meanwhile, a good portion of people do not live that long.
They work themselves to death.
Or an accident happens,
Accidents,
or whatever.
illnesses. Yeah.
They were born with some illness. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? So I got my first job at 12 years old. I had my first paycheck at 12 years old. I started working regularly at 15 years old. So I've had money taken out of my check since I was 12 years old into a system, and I'll be doggone if you're going to tell me that's free money. The person who says that that is free money is probably not voting the way we want them to vote. Because those are the same people who talk about, entitlements.
Ooh.
Entitlements. All right. CK. So are you saying that I really need to stop shopping in order to advance financially? Do you really want me to answer that? I know who you are. You literally just caught me before I clicked the buy button. If the buy button was the t-shirt for the meetup, go ahead and purchase that. It's basically at cost, okay? But if you just shopping to shop, CK, I know who you are. Okay. One of the reasons why we feel like that we have to take the abuse that we take on these jobs is because we have not put ourselves in a financial position not to take the abuse. So you need to decide, not CK, let me take you off the screen. You need to decide whether it is more important for you to get that latest gadget
Or
another pair of pants that you don't need, right? Or 3 of the t-shirts in all the different colors instead of 1, as opposed to being free from the tyranny that is corporate America. Because it is tyranny. It is tyranny when you have to ask for permission to take care of your child. It's tyranny when you have to ask for permission to go to the doctor or the dentist. It is tyranny when you have to beg for a mental health day, right? And it really is tyranny when they say you get 3-4 weeks vacation. Oh, but you can only take a week right now. You can't take all those 4 weeks in one time. Well, that means you can only go so far. Or like we see people come over here and then they stay for 4 or 5 days. Typical American vacation. It's like you done flown for 12 hours to stay for 4 days. And then you got to turn around and go back. That's tyranny. That is tyranny. Okay. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket.
Yeah.
He'll give him somebody to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you. That sounds like something Tim Wise would have said. And it's true.
No, it is. It's a quote.
It is true.
Like it slipped who said that.
Yeah.
Quote.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it was one of the presidents.
I can't imagine.
It was somebody.
I can't imagine.
Somebody up there.
Greta, if you could put that in the chat, that would be great. But the fact of the matter is, and I remember this. I remember this specifically. So there's a couple of things regarding what she just said. You all know the lady who did all of the research and the studies and the exercises with blue eyes, brown eyes, right? I can't remember her name right now.
The teacher.
Yeah, she's a teacher. Do you remember her name?
Oh, it'll come. It's trying to come in my head.
Right.
Jane.
Yes.
Jane. What's your last name?
Yes. So, and she said something similar because
Jane Goodall.
No, that's the one who studied the chimps or whatever. But anyway, the fact of the matter is that when she did her studies and she was talking about why the whole deal with race and racism is nonsense. Some of her students said, yeah, but at least I'm not Black. I might not have this, I might not have that, I might not have this, I might not have that, but at least I'm not Black. Which says to me, like, if you cannot find a white person who would like to trade places with a rich Black person, then they have already admitted the problem with America, right? They have already admitted the problem with America. That's right. That's right. We are not. We have no competition. We have no competition. And I don't say that to out of arrogance. I say that because we do what we do, and if you love us, you stick, and if you don't, you go, and that's fine, right? Like, no one can do what we do the way we do it. Other people may do other things that you might find, explained better than how we explain it. But the fact of the matter is, no one can do what we do the way we do it, and that's what we tell people who are in our side hustle challenge. It does not matter if there's 1,000 people on YouTube talking about money. You talk about money the way you talk about money to the people you want to talk to.
It was LBJ.
LBJ. Okay. And he was an interesting president. He was an interesting president. Okay, we're going to answer these last couple of questions, and then we are going to get to how we can heal. I want to know from some of you. Okay, Angela. I want to know from some of you if you feel hesitant. Thank you, Greta. If you feel hesitant about Jane Elliott, that's the name. Thank you, Spaces and Places Out There, and KB, and Greta. Y'all know. Okay. So, I answered that. I don't know how it didn't get unstarred. I'm just going to iterate. CK. When I began practicing law, it was unacceptable to wear my hair in braids. Any natural style except a shaved head was not acceptable. So basically, what corporate America was saying is the way God made you is unacceptable. And this from Christians, from so-called Christians. The way God made you is unacceptable. That's what that rule says. And yes, thank God for the Crown Act. I remember when Jabari was looking for work in LA right after he graduated from high school, and he was there in LA for his freshman year, and he had dreadlocks up down to here. And my mom, being of the silent generation, right, was like, you'll find a job if you just cut off those dreadlocks. And he called me and he's like, Mom, do you think I need to? I said, don't you cut off not one of them unless you want to. But if you don't want to, no, do not conform. Do not conform. Some little minimum wage job is not worth you changing the essence or piece of the essence of who you are and your self-expression. There's nothing unprofessional about it. You've got them tied back. It looks fine, whatever. And it wasn't food work. He wasn't working around food or anything. It was just retail. So yes. Nathan David, thank you. 68 and no true retirement, military vet, Social Security saved. I'm not sure what HYSA is. Tell me what HYSA is and put a Q in front of it. We want you to be truly retired, Nathan David. We really, really do. And so we thank you for the super chat or super sticker. As y'all know, all of that money goes to our scholarship fund for Beyond the Bling, which is our financial course for late bloomers. Angela says, I have a 401k and 401k with 400,000. I'm 57 years old. Is that sufficient to retire now, baby? I don't know. But I do know how you can find out. If you spend $200,000 a year, no. If you can manage, if you can manage to live on $16,000 a year, then it's enough. Probably not. However, you could be at Coast Fi. Coast Fi means that you have lowered your expenses to the point where a little part-time job or a side hustle will maintain you, but you don't necessarily have to put any more money into retirement. In 5 years, if that portfolio is making at least a return of 15%, it will double. So you'll have 800,000 5 years from now if you don't touch it. And if you are not invested in things that have a lot of fees, so that you are actually getting a 15% return. Okay. So what you need to do is figure out, and this is for anybody, figure out your future expenses, your future annual expenses. Multiply that times 25, and that's the amount of money you need to have in your retirement account in order to reach full financial independence without any part-time work or side hustle or anything like that. Okay. It changes when you get 62 and you can collect Social Security, right? So then you can subtract that amount and you will need even less in your retirement accounts. Okay.
High yield savings account.
Get in high yield savings account. I should have known that.
Yes,
and
5%.
Yes, and thank you for the other super chats. You didn't have to do that, Nathan. Thank you so much. We so appreciate it. The community appreciates it. And we have given away, gosh, at this point, too many scholarships to count. Thanks to y'all. Thanks to the community. Seriously. So, okay. Sorry to report, but the Senate blocked the Crown Act bill in 2019 and 2022. Not there quite yet, still fighting. Well, in Colorado, where we're from, the Crown Act is law. So maybe where that person is from, I can't remember who said it, the Crown Act is law. I think in California, the Crown Act is law. And here's the thing, folks, and this is why you need to vote locally. See, we shouldn't have gotten started on this. This is why you need to vote locally. If the majority of states pass the Crown Act, then Congress is kind of has to pass it on a federal level. Okay. And so that's kind of how it works. And I can't remember what the critical mass is. We've got 50 states, if it's 26 states or 27 states, or maybe 24 states. I can't remember because I don't do politics anymore. But that is the norm, that if the majority of states just go ahead and pass that, then the federal law will fall into place. Just recently, a school in Texas told a Black boy that he can't attend school with dreadlocks. See, yeah. I'm not trying to live like that. All right, let's get to the steps to or deinstitutionalize you from your job. Most are afraid to quit their jobs, but I love this quote. Fear is imagining a future that does not exist. I'm a pop culture person. This is from a movie. This is not from Lyndon B. Johnson or Frantz Fanon. This is from a movie that Will Smith did with his kid. I can't even remember the name of it, but I loved the quote. And when I heard him in the movie saying it, I was like, dang, that's deep. It's down here. So yeah, fear is imagining a future that does not yet exist and may never exist. So we don't want to get caught up in paralysis on what ifs. We want to plan for what ifs, but we don't want to get stuck on what ifs. Okay. So, number one,
Separate yourself, excuse me, separate your self-worth from your job.
we were kind of talking about this, or from your job title, Dr. So and so.
Yeah. Remember, you're not your job title.
The essence of who you are, what you are really about, what your values are, may not be even reflective in the job title that you hold and how you get paid, right? How you pay your bills, right? So think about who you really, really are. It's not Dr. So-and-so. It's not so-and-so attorney at law. It's not CEO of this or chief something of that or vice president of this or that or even executive director of this or that, right? That's not who you are. Who are you really? Take the time to list what your core values are. And do you get to live them out on a daily basis? So if you say one of your core values is family and spending time with family, does your job allow for that? If one of your core values is spending time in community and being able to help, help out at the this center or that center or to do this and that in the community, does your job allow you to express yourself in that way? And I'm not talking about this team building exercise where we all go do Habitat for Humanity and pretend like we care. I'm not talking about that, because doing that twice a year or once a year with the job is not reflective of who you are if you say this is one of your core values, right? And I have to say, because when we first started talking about moving up the date from 2025 to 2022, I was like, but wait, I ain't been chair yet. What do you mean? What do you mean? I got to do this, I got to do that, so I can prove to myself that I am all such a much. Because that's basically what it is. Like, once I decided that, you never cared about this stuff because your dream was something else, and all of this was just a way means to an end. But I had gotten invested in the titles, and I'm going to be honest about that. It's hard when you come from parents who were the first Black this and the first Black that to not be caught up in the titles, right? And so in my mind, finally, I would have the respect that I believed I deserved. But here's the thing, respect from whom? The people who really matter already respected me. My mom, my dad, my kids sometimes. my bonus kids sometimes. My husband all the time. My mom sometimes. My dad all the time. Right? They always respected me. The people on the job, maybe 30% of the time, 40% of the time. And would that position have changed things really? Really? Or would it just be transactional? They respect me as long as I could give them something. What you think? Exactly. So the second part of that is list all of your characteristics that you are proud of. List all of the characteristics about yourself that you are proud of. How many have to do with your job? All the characteristics about I'm honest, right? I'm loyal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm compassionate and understanding. I love human beings, no matter what. Like, I will give somebody the benefit of the doubt. I don't care what you look like, who you are, what your religion is, or anything. I will give you the benefit of the doubt, and I will find the humanness in you. That's part of who I am. That has nothing to do with the job. That's me. That's who I am, right?
Yeah. And redefine what success looks like for you.
Exactly.
Uh,
So if success is being involved in transactional opportunities, which jobs are, if that's all that success means to you, then I'm not sure what to tell you. But for me, success finally was not tied to a title, but was tied to me being able to live a life that brought me joy, no matter what, right? Like, yeah, it would be nice to have a 70-foot yacht. I ain't gonna lie. But I don't think I want to work hard enough to have a 70-foot yacht.
How many times or how long? How much would you use that?
I don't know, because I get seasick.
See?
It'd be a lot of Dramamine. I'd have some stock in some Dramamine.
Give me a dinghy and a fishing rod, fishing pole.
Right. So redefine what success looks like for you. So I'm going to ask you, who in our chat, in our live today, and if you're watching from the future, tell me what success looks like for you. Hi from the future.
Hi, future.
If you're watching from Facebook, hey there.
Hey.
Tell us what success looks like for you. I would like to know, because it is really, really easy to get into the constructs of what America wants success for us to look like, right? You have to have the McMansion. You've got to have the twin Teslas, right? Hopefully you've got some initials by your name, but if not, you've at least got the money to offset the lack of initials by your name. I'm talking about Doctor, Esquire, and all that nonsense. Well, it's not nonsense, but all of that stuff. I would like to hear what you believe success looks like. Number 2.
Take stock and understand your own self-worth.
Who are you really? And we were talking about this. We started talking about Beyonce, right? Because, I don't know that she will ever stop singing. I don't know that she will ever stop singing. Then we started thinking about like Lola Falana and
oh gosh, now you made me forget her
right.
name.
So everybody said my mom looked like her growing up, an old actress from the day. And once they got to a certain age and didn't look as pretty as they thought they were supposed to look, they just disappeared from the scene.
Stormy Weather. That was the song that she sang in the movie. Oh my God. Lena Horne.
Disappeared from the scene. But when we think about people like Beyonce, like, she's not just an entertainer. She's a mom, right? She is a loving mom. She is a wife. She is a daughter. She is a Christian. And we see that in her music. And so there's more to our lives than just our titles and our job, right?
Yeah.
B, what brings you joy? What brings you joy? I don't know too many people, even who have their dream job today, who say their job just brings them the ultimate joy. Even the folks who did what they thought their dream job was and went the distance and got the PhD and got the MD and got the Esquire, right? Like, I in talking to them, it's funny because when I'm mentoring kids, they're like, oh, I'll be happy when I'm finally a doctor, when I get out of this residency. I'm like, I'll get out about 10 years and then you'll be over that. Sorry, y'all. But I'm sure that Beyonce says her job brings her joy. And we were talking about had our singing careers like took off, that would probably bring us joy. But most of us in corporate America, those, our jobs are not bringing us joy. And so then the question is what brings joy to your life and how do you create joy in other people's lives? So you need to take stock and understand your own self-worth. Who are you really? What brings you joy? And how do you bring joy to other people's lives? And then D,
do the above actions get helped or hindered by your job?
Does your job hinder who you really are? Does it hinder the joy in your life? Does it hinder your ability to bring joy to other people's lives? If so, you need to go. You need to go. And if you are already financially independent or coast fi, what is keeping you there? Let's go back to the definition of being institutionalized. If someone becomes institutionalized, they gradually become less able to think and act independently. If you are remaining in a position, in a job, in a situation that does you harm, can one say you have been institutionalized, that you are no longer capable of thinking independently and acting independently? Tough love? Is that a little bit of tough love?
A little bit.
Okay, where were we?
3.
Okay, number 3. Here we go.
Identify if you stay on your job, why you are not fulfilled.
So if you choose to stay on your job, but are not fulfilled, why? I think perhaps subconsciously they've realized that their fulfillment comes from activities outside their job. What do you think? Right?
I would agree.
Right? If you review your values, perhaps you can easily see why you are not fulfilled. So again, it comes back to your values. What are your values and what brings you joy? And I remember talking to folks, we've talked to some folks who said, and we say, well, what are your dreams? And they're like, I don't know.
God had a dream.
Right?
Yeah.
Have we become so caught up in the hustle and grind that we don't even know anymore what brings us joy, right? Have we been caught up in the hustle and grind so much that we don't know what brings us true fulfillment? I remember we go to church on Sunday and we spend 2 hours, 1 hour, 2 hours in church and with praise and worship and all of that, and we feel good, and then we come home and we're like, oh, I gotta go work tomorrow.
I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in our jobs or our careers and stuff that we become numb to fulfillment.
Mm. And maybe we don't even really know that we're not fulfilled. Have we become so out of touch with our own humanity that we don't even realize how drastically unhappy we are? Ballerina, you put a C in front of it. I'm not sure what that means. I'm assuming it means comment. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Right? We don't even realize that we're unhappy.
Right.
Or we realize we're unhappy and we don't know why, because work is just a thing that we do. If you are not in a financial position to say, you know what, peace out. If you are not in that position, we want you to get in that position. We can help you. We can help you. All right.
Just kind of on a side note, talking to my nephew, whom I love
Whom
dearly.
we love dearly. I knew you were going to say that.
But, all of a sudden now he's going to the doctor because of depression and body aches and different things like that. And I talked to him about his job. And he really does not like his job.
Of course
He
he does.
does his job. He travels to go do his job. But it's like, that's where your stress and everything else is coming from. It's your job.
Mm-hmm.
So you either need to find another job or you need to listen to us. When we try to explain to you how to make life a whole lot easier for you, what steps you need to take. But he's too busy to work. He's
Hustle and grind.
too busy
Hustle and grind.
hustling and grinding.
Today, it's just about today and making sure tomorrow's bills are paid. No, with no thought, like, am I going to be doing this same thing 10 years from now?
Right.
Right. And, I think, I don't think that his health concerns are just his job. I think some of his health concerns are stem from the fact that he realizes he's not living an authentic life. He realizes that he's not living a life that brings him joy, where he can contribute to other people's joy. He's living an unauthentic life because he cannot be his true self on that job, and he's not doing the things that God put him on this earth to do.
Yeah, he keeps running from him, and we keep trying to tell him. We keep trying to show him his talent, and
Right?
he runs from it.
And he's scared. He's scared. All right, let's see what you all are talking about. Success for me is retiring and living in peace for decades.
Decades.
Yeah. And Action VJ is so in shape. I'm sure he's going to live to be 103 or more. Debt freedom, choices, family well launched. I love it. That's what success equals for her. Allison says success for me is peace, no stress, writing my book, ooh, and doing the documentary I started 21 years ago. Okay, Allison.
There you go.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you because I have a book that I started writing in 2010.
That's right.
That's right, 2010. So one of these days, I am going to, as soon as I can get everything in the States situated and everything is, running smoothly, or at least semi-smoothly, I will feel like I have the time and the bandwidth and the wherewithal to get back to that book. Success is promoting justice in a world where it is often lacking. Yes, justice. As long as it's not stressing you out, TW. Money buys justice. I keep saying this. It's, when I was running for office, y'all, I'm not fighting these people anymore. I'm not fighting them. I'm not fighting them to wear my hair how I want to wear it on the job. I'm not fighting them to take, no, I'm going to get my money straight. So when you do something that I don't like, I can tell you to F off. And if you try to do something that is illegal, I have the money to hire the best lawyers to get me justice. Nathan says, not living check to check. No one watching us should be living paycheck to paycheck. I said it. No one should be living paycheck to paycheck. Freedom, financial time. Did I say freedom? All right. And the reason why I say that, Nathan David, is because a few things. One, because we have Beyond the Bling, our financial course for folks who are late bloomers, like we are, right? And so if you are living paycheck to paycheck, and if you are making more than minimum wage, we can help you. We can help you. But the bottom line is, I want you to start looking at how you're spending your money and where your money is going, and start eliminating the things that you can eliminate and replacing some of the things that you can replace with less expensive alternatives. All right. Start there. And that will free up some money. And that money should be going into your emergency fund. If you're single, you need a minimum of 6 months. If you're married and both people are working, then you need a minimum of 3 months. That's minimum. Rick and I save 2 years of living expenses. That our emergency fund is 2 years of living expenses, especially because we're not W-2 employees. So we need to have a large cushy cush.
Right.
Right? One of my YouTube friends changed her mind about waiting to retire after calculating whether or not the extra money is worth it, right? She decided, hell nah, and retired. I love it. Yeah. Sometimes we hold on, and that's why when we talk to folks who say, well, I'm going to work another year and a half because I'm supposed to get this bonus or that bonus. If you're waiting to get a pension, a full pension, I get it.
Right.
But if you're waiting for a bonus, then you really need to do the return on investment and see if it's really worth it. Like, how much money is it really? Are we talking $100,000 or $10,000? Because if it's $10,000, I can show you how to make $10,000 in a few months. Seriously. So, if you're willing to work for it on your own terms, I can show you how to make $10,000. Don't stick around for that. How would you coach up the I'm writing out this hateful place and space until analysis? You see who's asking this question, right? Why? Why are you writing it out? That's what I want to know. Why would you ride, RIDE, out a hateful place and space until what? Until you have financial freedom? Maybe. Until you get your money straight? Maybe. Could you find another job in the meantime, in between times, so it's not killing you, both on the inside and out, while you get your money straight, right? There is no reason, unless you are one of those type of people who really, really, really can go into a hateful place and space and not let it affect you emotionally and physically. I don't know anybody like that.
I was going to say, how can you do that?
I don't know, but I'm sure somebody out there is going to claim they can.
You'd have to be emotionless.
Yeah.
Heartless.
Yeah, I would think so. But maybe you've got your breathing techniques down and all of this Zen and grounding and all of this, chi stuff, and you can do it. But why? Why would you put yourself through that?
Yeah. If
you have the money, envision your life. Well, we're going to get to them other steps. We don't get for them other steps. I'm going to leave this start because we might come back to that, Professor. All right, Helen, you really find out what brings you joy with loss in your life. And then the time that has passed, you just have to live. Yes, right? So y'all know we just lost a family member. And tomorrow's not promised. It's just not. It's just not. And when I think about all of the missed opportunities that we could have had spending time together and just enjoying each other's company, but no, we were too busy working and we couldn't take the time off. And this is that and the other. We couldn't even have a video call because after working 70 hours a week, we just come home and right? And if you're only working 40 hours a week, but you have to deal with so many microaggressions at work, you just come home, right? And you can't enjoy your loved ones. That's not life. That is not life. That's just survival. And we want so much more for you. We want so much more for every one of you who are watching than survival. Life's too short for that nonsense. Success defined changes routinely for me. Okay. I'm with that, Valerina. I love that I'm able to make friends even at this age and they want to be around me. Yes. None of that comes from my job. That's what I know. To me, there is nothing more lovely than friendship. I mean, I got an opportunity to hang out with one of my girlfriends all day Friday. She just called me out of the blue and said, I'm in your neighborhood. What are you doing for lunch? Well, I had just gotten back from brunch, y'all. Literally, I had just walked up the hill from having brunch with some family members who were here. And I said, okay, I got a load in the wash. Let me get that out. And then I'll meet you. I'm not going to eat, but I'll have some lemonade or whatever, maybe some dessert. I ended up having a slider. But I have the luxury to be able to do that. And, we sat there at the lunch place and I was like, so she works for herself. I said, so are you going to go back to there's a shared workspace next door. Are you going to go back and do some more work? She's like, no, I don't have to do anything more today. So, she's like, let's go find chocolate. So then we went on a 45-minute walk searching for the ultimate Belgium chocolate. And we finally found that and we sat down and I had some hot chocolate. Hey, Adelia, had your hot chocolate. Had some hot chocolate and some Belgian chocolates. And we just sat there and relaxed and people watched and talked. And then Rick called and said, what y'all doing? By that time, we had started walking down towards the metro, stopped at the flea market, looking at the arts and crafts and this and that. This is a Friday, just, whatever, in the middle of the day. And then I met you for dinner. And then we went to the wine and food festival down in Oraish, I think I'm pronouncing it right, and didn't get home until 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
That's what you get to do when you decide to envision the life that you want and you go for it. For those of you who already have reached financial freedom, and I know you're watching, this is the kind of life you get to enjoy the things that you want to enjoy. And one of the things that I enjoy is being around my people and just talking and enjoying their company and hearing about their life and laughing at some of the folks walking by and talking, philosophizing and solving the world's problems all over some hot chocolate.
There you go.
Right? This is what I get to do. And I feel so thoroughly blessed. Number 4. So number 1 was separate your self-worth from your job and your job title. Number 2, take stock and understand your own self-worth. Who are you really? What brings you joy? And how do you bring joy to other people's lives? And is your job helping or hindering that? Number 3, identify, if you stay on your job, why you are not fulfilled. Number 4, manage financial concerns. So this is the biggest one. This was not the biggest one for the person who gave us the question because she was already financially independent, but still was afraid to quit her job. And the question is why? Now we're giving the steps to get out of that mentality of thinking that you have to depend upon an institution that is built to oppress you. So manage your financial concerns. A,
fairly assess your future needs.
this is important. If you are making $150,000 this year, or if you're making $75,000 this year, or if you're making $50,000 this year, that doesn't mean your future annual expenses are going to equal that. Right? So Rick and I cut down our annual expenses by 2/3. One, by moving to a less expensive place to live. And 2, by giving up paying for a house that was 3 times bigger than we needed. How many of you are paying for space that is unused? And if you went into that guest room, if you went into that crafts room, if you went into the basement or the media room, there's dust.
Yeah.
Right? How many of us, or the formal dining room, because you eat in the kitchen all the time, or you eat in front of the TV. Guilty. And the dining room is the place where the mail goes.
That's it. It was on the table.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, at first we were using the dining room, but so thoroughly assess your future needs and then add 10 to 20% to that. If you are afraid, go ahead and add 10 to 20% to that. So if you think you're going to be living off of $30,000 a year down in Querétaro, Mexico, just bump it up to $35,000, right? That's what we mean by that. And then you know what the calculation is for 5. Annual expenses times 25. Add 1 to 3 years, 1 year to 3 years of emergency fund. If 100% of your money is in the stock market, I would say go more towards 2 to 3 years emergency fund. If some is in the stock market, but you're going to be getting rental from your home and you've got that income, or if maybe you now qualify for Social Security at 62 years old, then maybe only 1 year emergency fund, okay? But no less than 1 year. No less than 1 year in cash or near cash. What do I mean by that? Where's our guy? High yield savings account, HYSA, high yield savings account, CDs or laddered CDs, money market account, like that. Something that's easily liquidated and does not lose value over time. Now, if we have high inflation, technically it does lose value over time. Don't get into my DMs about that. You know what I'm talking about. So, as opposed to having your emergency fund in stock, which at the time you need it may have taken a dip and then you're selling at a loss. That's not what we want for you. So, what you need over the, as an emergency fund has to be cash or near cash. And then D,
Assess your family's medical history and plan financially for the worst case scenario.
because we hear this all the time. But what if, but what if, but what if? Okay, what if? Plan for it. Plan for it, right? So I know someone who's a multimillionaire and is past 70. So she can get full Social Security. And because she's made so much money in her lifetime, she's probably going to get close to $5,000 in Social Security. I think the highest amount you can get is $4,800. She's probably going to get that if she's not collecting it already, right? So, okay, so she's got the 4,800 and she's got $4, $5, $6 million in the bank. She's old enough for Medicare, so she's got that. She can get all the perks with Medicare. She can afford to get all the plan A, plan B, plan C, the highest, the Cadillac of all of that stuff, right? Let's say still, God forbid, someone gets cancer and they have to go through chemo and all of that. What is that going to cost? Because they say people go bankrupt with healthcare, right? So what is the worst case scenario? If you've got $5 million today, and chemo is going to cost $500,000, you got it. She's got it, but she's still afraid to quit her job, right? And right, and then she doesn't have cancer today. She doesn't. She's fine. She's physically fine, in great shape, as well as a lot of you who are watching, right? But these are the what ifs.
Right.
These are the what ifs. Meanwhile, in between time, your money is making money. So now instead of having the 1.1 million, it's 3 years later, now it's 2 million. And then it is 5 years later and it is 3 million, right? That's how it goes. So I don't, we cannot plan for the zombie apocalypse. We just cannot plan for the zombie apocalypse, but we can prepare for things that could happen, eventualities. And if you have the Ready to Retire Toolkit, or if you are in Beyond the Bling, we talk about this. What are you expecting? You retired. Now, what are you expecting to have to pay for? Are there some funerals that are coming up in the next 1 to 10, 5 years, 8 years, right? Put the money aside for that today. Are there some graduations you might have to travel back for, or some weddings or baby showers or any of the fun stuff? Let's talk about the fun stuff that we can prepare for, right? Weddings, baby showers, and all of that stuff, right? You can plan for that, and
Right.
you can put aside your spend time with family fund, right? To do all of those things. You can have another set of money that is the worst case scenario fund. It doesn't have to be abstract. You remember when grandma had the envelopes, use the doggone envelopes digitally, separate your money into piles, into buckets for all of your concerns. And when you have enough money in those buckets to make yourself feel comfortable that you have done all you can do today to prepare for tomorrow,
Right.
quit that damn job and start living your life. Come walk with us along the beach, along the riverfront, and have hot chocolate and talk crap about, granddad with the white socks and the dress shoes who just walked by.
Not granddad.
Yes, granddad. I find it interesting that every time we talk about money, we always have lower numbers than when we're just talking about, oh, come move abroad. Have you noticed that? I've noticed it. And I'm not hating, because when we first found Our Rich Journey, I did not want to see any of their videos about money. I was only watching their videos about Portugal with absolutely no idea how I was going to make that happen until I started watching their videos on money. So, all right, manage your financial concerns. We've just told you, thoroughly assess your future needs, add 10 to 20% of that number. If you are really, 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 really risk averse, add 1 to 3 years emergency fund, especially if you're depending 100% on the stock market. Assess your family's medical history and plan financially for the worst case scenario. Number 5.
Visualize your future life.
This is one of the most important things.
You have to see it.
Under the money.
You have to see it.
Right? I knew after taking extended vacations that my future life was not sitting on a beach drinking Mai Tais.
Yeah. Your retirement is not a vacation.
No, it's not a vacation. So we don't spend every other day going on excursions and going to, doing a walking tour of the city and a food tour and a this and a that and a this and that. No, we're living life. However, we get to do what we want to do when we want to do it. So when my girlfriend called me and said, "What you doing? Do you want to meet for lunch?" Sure, let's meet. And then I was out of the house for the whole we were out of the house basically from 10 a.m. until 11 p.m. And the wine and the food tasting cost us €6 a piece, y'all.
Yeah.
€12. The train got us down there for free. Our little dinner cost like €20, €25. It was a very inexpensive day insofar as going out is concerned. And we got to see people dressed up like Bridgerton, right? In the old-fashioned clothes. We'll put the video on IG. We got to, I already did put a little of it on Instagram. And, we got to enjoy that. There was wine tasting from like 30 different vendors, all included in that €6 a piece. And enjoy the company and the camaraderie of being around other folks, enjoying the time. And it was just a good, relaxing time, enjoying each other and actually talking to strangers. It's amazing what a little bit of wine. Everybody's friends. Hey, friends. So visualize what you want your future life to look like. Like literally take the time daily or weekly to quiet and visualize what you want your daily life to look like. And all of you who have been watching us from the beginning, y'all know me and my Calgon moments. I visualized and manifested this life for us because every single night I was in that tub trying to soak off the anxiety and stuff from my job and at the same time say, okay, but Portugal's coming. This is what it's going to look like. Mexico is coming. This is what that's going to look like, right? So once you're visualizing, I want you to ask yourself, when you visualize a life, does it make you anxious? Right? Does it make you anxious? Take the time to identify the specific reasons it makes you anxious and then ask. So I want to know from you guys, if you are visualizing your life after work, what is it specifically that brings you anxiety? If anything, for those of you where the idea of quitting your job makes you anxious and uncomfortable, I want you to take the time right now to think about why. What is it? And then let us know in the chat. If you're watching from the future, let us know in the comments. What is it specifically that is making you anxious? Because if you cannot identify what it is or why, then you won't know if it's something that you realistically should be concerned about, or if you're just feeling anxious about the unknown in general, right? Or anything in between. So I would love, love, love to know why. And then lastly, with visualizing your future life, focus on all of the things and opportunities that you cannot take advantage of right now. Right? So if you're working a job, when we were talking about detoxing from jobs a couple of weeks ago with Dr. Kamani, one of the things is that staying on a job, they make you sign non-competes. So if you're not at full FI, but you want to quit and you're at Coast FI, but you still need to make some more money, the sky is the limit. The sky is the limit with the amount of money you can make not being on somebody's job. The sky is the limit, right? That, between coaching, consulting, freelancing, YouTube, et cetera, there is money to be made out there. And you don't have to be answering to people who are not as smart as you in order to make that money. I would challenge you and say that you probably by year 2 could make more money doing what brings you joy than you made at your job.
Yeah. I mean, for us, it was YouTube and having fun doing the things we always dreamed about doing.
Exactly. I mean, at first we thought we were going to be in an RV going across America making documentaries, not thinking about how we were going to sell those documentaries. We were going to have to go hat in hand to the people that Taraji has been talking about, right? Well, not necessarily Oprah, but people of the institution of the entertainment industry. Will you buy my documentary?
Yeah.
But now with YouTube and other platforms, like we don't need to do that. We could just go straight to y'all and say, here we are. This is what we have. Love us or leave us, baby. And then last, number 6, because we do have 7. Number 6.
Seek support.
If fear is the issue or fear of change, then maybe you need to see a therapist, right? I think everybody needs therapy.
Yeah.
I think everybody needs therapy.
Yeah. Therapy is a good thing.
Right? But, if you already have a therapist, talk to them about this. If you don't have a therapist, and this is debilitating to you, like this is really, really causing you emotional stress, seek out a therapist. Don't try to do this alone. It doesn't make sense. We don't have to do stuff alone anymore. That rugged individualism and all that nonsense is just that nonsense.
And if not a therapist, seek like-minded people that you know, people that you trust, and people that you just bounce ideas off of.
Right.
You'd be surprised of all the different things that you come up with, by their suggestions or just hearing yourself. I figure out a lot of stuff when I talk to somebody and I hear myself.
Right. It's like, wait a minute. I already have the answer.
I got the answer.
I got the answer by talking to you about it. Right. Right.
So yeah, seek out, talk to somebody else, if not a therapist.
Community. Find like-minded people in community, right? Find community and fellowship with others who are retiring early or transitioning to a new lifestyle. Like we have, Action VJ says we're the most hardworking retired folks he knows, right? But we're doing what brings us joy. So what you don't want to do is be that retired person who is just doing less of the same shit.
No.
What do I mean by that? Think about your typical weekend when you're trying to recover from that hard week. What do? That's what I mean. So you're just doing that in retirement. And we hear so many times when people are just like, if it's not the TV, then it's on YouTube. Yeah, you're going to get bored. You're probably going to get bored. That's not the life we want for you. We don't want you to just do more of the same stuff that you had, that you were doing before. Let's go on an adventure. This is all we get, y'all. This is all we get. So you might as well take full advantage of it. All right, let's see what you guys are talking about. Let's see. Where are we? Well, that's good, Dr. O. It funds her joy. It doesn't hinder her joy. But there are some folks that are trying to hinder my joy on the job. It's not the job. When we say the job, it's rarely the activities that we do, right? Like if I could have done my job without dealing with them people, it'd have been cool.
Most of the time it is.
Right? Yeah. I never minded 80% of the activities that I had to do on somebody's job. It was the people that I had to either do it for, with, or whatever that got on my doggone nerves. trying to tell me. It's like, you're an idiot. Why are you my boss? Why am I having to teach you about this industry? Why are you here? And now I got to answer to you? Chad, get out of my way. So, yeah, it's not necessarily the activities at the job, it's usually the people. All right. Let's see what you guys are talking about. Tia the Dreamer. That seems like a new name. Hey, Tia.
Mhm.
Oh. All right. All right. I received that. I received that. We don't want to make you cry, though. We hopefully want to bring you hope. Hey, Teresa. All right. Pinky says, for me, success looks like accomplishing the things set out to accomplish, whatever the thing is. It's self-defined and different for different people. Great. I focus on my journey and no one else's, or no one else's expectations of what your journey is supposed to look like, right, Pinky?
Right.
And that's the thing, right? When we talk about like how to be becoming deinstitutionalized or uninstitutionalized in relationship to our jobs, a lot of that institutionalization is brought about by things outside of the institution because it is ubiquitous in what is America, which is corporate America. Like, I don't know that you can separate America from corporations at this point. It seems like we are ruled by corporations.
Yeah.
Achieving financial freedom requires work, y'all. How bad do you want it? It's not hard. It's a mindset.
It truly is.
It really, really is, Jess. You're spot on with that. Because for the majority of the folks who are watching our channel, we know that you make enough to get this thing, to do this thing. But can you give up pushing that purchase button on Amazon? Have you taken all of your credit cards out of the memory of your computer? So every single time you've got to type it in from scratch. Have you eliminated the credit cards from your Apple Wallet? Right? So you got to pull it out, you got to think about it, et cetera, et cetera. TW says she has not had a mortgage since 2013.
Oh, wow.
Fire, baby. That's lovely. But you do not have to pay off your mortgage to reach financial independence. Okay. If you plan to stay in that house, it's probably a good idea to do that. If you don't plan to stay in that house, don't bother paying it off. Do not bother. Sell it or let somebody else pay it off. Oh, Ryder asked a question. Just thank you for, okay, my question is, okay, Ryder, it says down there at the bottom.
Put a Q in the front.
Thank you, Jess. So now I went back and I found it. All right. Pinky, I got you. All right. Let's see. I'm going to just go to the end and get all of them. So y'all have to be a little bit patient. I'm scrolling and I'm scrolling.
Jacqueline.
Here's Jacqueline Johnson. Got you. All right. Non-competes have been banned for folks making a certain amount, which I'm making more than, and so it's a farce, the luxury bucket list says. That's interesting. I did not, when I was working for the entertainment industry, there were no laws against having those kind of non-competes. And so, as I said a couple of weeks ago, I could have been working on a script on my own time, which I did, and technically they would own it. I still went out there and got me an agent and everything else and shopped that script around. I'm like, we just have to go to court and fight because I'm not doing that. I'm just not. All right. So CK, I really don't want to ever work again. Hence, I have to balance acquiring a second pension, that's gravy, versus stopping 2.5 years shy. Okay. I don't know what your first pension is, so I can't say anything. And I'm, some jobs, if you quit early, you get a partial pension. Some is like all or nothing. And I don't know what kind of situation you're in, but do the ROI and make sure that it's worth it. And make sure that there is no other way to easily get that same amount of money. All right. I would hate for you to give up 2.5 years or whatever of your life that you didn't necessarily have to give up. Because of you, I just started investing. Yay, Becca. And I started investing, and it's amazing how much I already have made. I have a Roth IRA and also investing $5 here and there, and I'm loving it. Whole new world I have, right? So when I stopped buying stuff and things, my shopping frenzy was stock, not just any old stock, because I'm not like that. But you basically cannot go wrong with the three big: Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, right? So there's that. And then index funds. And so every time we had a little extra money when we were still working, Rick he'd get a pop-up because he's on the account too. He'd get a pop-up, bing, you just acquired three shares of this. Here she goes.
Well, she didn't buy it now.
And I get that little thrill. I get that little thrill like I had just come home with some bling bling shoes. I'm serious. All right. Please advise Holly or Rick. Okay, so I'm Halisi. Rick, RIC. I'm getting remote position this month in call center. Okay, can I save and move to Panama, any other country with my job? I'll still work the hours, just bring my laptop. I don't know, Paris. You need to check with your job. Why? Because there are tax implications. So I don't know what the tax laws are in Panama. We're not tax experts, but here in Portugal, you would have to pay taxes. The company would have to pay employee taxes to Portugal. So if you're a digital nomad and you're just bopping around, you might be able to get away with, not because you haven't become an official tax resident, but to get residency usually means you're a tax resident as well. Not the case in Mexico, however, Paris, not the case in Mexico. Mexico does not tax foreign earned income. Portugal doesn't care where you earned it. If you stay in here, you're going to pay some taxes. Same with the United States. So that is the reason why you cannot necessarily take any job anywhere. The job will let you know if you want to take that chance and ask. If you think that you can get away with a VPN, you might for a while. But if it's any kind of company that has a real IT department, they're going to catch you. So, and again, if you are seeking residency, temporary permanent residency, then you become a tax resident, then you've got to file tax returns. How is that going to work? Right? So it's more than just moving. Again, if you're a digital nomad, you can get away with a lot more stuff than if you are seeking residency.
Correct.
What are your thoughts on waiting to draw on the maximum Social Security payout at age 70? I ain't doing it. No. If I were 69, maybe. But I retired at 57. I'm not waiting until 70. I don't even know if there'll be Social Security when I'm 70. Let's see what happens in November, right? Like, I don't know. If old boy gets back in, I believe he will not be able to dismantle Social Security by the time I'm 2 years from now, 2.5 years from now, when I'm 62. But 8 years from now, he could dismantle it and privatize it and have it based upon the stock market. So when the stock is down, everybody's check takes a dip. When it's back up, maybe it goes back up. It never goes back up, right? To where it was. But I don't know. We do know that they've been trying to privatize that. Y'all, we got to fight against that. That is not, no. We didn't like I said, I've been paying into Social Security since I was 12 years old. I did not pay into, like, if you wanted me to invest in the stock market, I could have done that on my own. Like, give me my money and I'll put it in the stock market and take my chances, or I'll put it in bonds or CDs, right? Like, but you've taken my money with a guarantee of XYZ, and now you want to play with it and privatize it because you don't want to tax your rich friends. Miss me with that. My question, don't wait until you're 70. Do an ROI, do a return on investment, and see
if it's worth it.
If it's worth it. Like, if the difference is $300, at what point will you break even? And then at what point will you have been getting less money? 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, right? Like, if you start taking it now, and let's just say you get $1,800 now, or you can wait to get $3,100 at 70 years old, with a difference of $300, right? At what point, if you start taking it now, at what point will you break even? At what point do you say, okay, if I live to be 80, then I will start being at a loss and getting less money? Am I making sense? Am I explaining this correctly? You've heard me before. I don't think I'm explaining it very clearly. But basically, you want to figure out what point would you break even, and at what point would it have been better? How many years more would you have to live that would have made it better for you to wait until you're 70? If you find that you'd have to live to 90 years old, then you have to ask yourself, is that worth it? Is it worth it? And I would say, hell nah. My question is, can a single person live comfortably in Portugal off of $45,000 a year? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Had I'm assuming 3-bedroom, 2-bath home for 18 years. So family could be comfortable visiting me at the beach. They came 3 damn times and stayed 1 to 2 days. That's what I'm talking about, y'all. How much money did Pinky spend on these extra bedrooms? Not necessarily extra bathrooms, but extra bedrooms for 18 years to get 10 days of family time or whatever, right? All of that money, all of that extra money. If she had bought a smaller house, maybe a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, right? For $1,000 less per month, and took that $1,000 and put it in the stock market. You see where I'm going? You see where I'm going? All right, my concern, not enough money in savings or 401k, concern about ageism and finding new employment, so many things. Jacqueline, you can make your own money. First of all, you don't look old. I'm looking at that picture. It's beautiful. I'm 60. Them folks don't know how old I am. I don't put my graduation dates on my resume anymore. I stopped doing that like 15 years ago. Y'all don't need to know. It's against the law to ask. All you need to know is, this is where I work. These are the skills I have. This is what I can bring to the table, blah, 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 whoop-de-whoop. You don't need to know how old I am. Black don't crack, baby. Don't worry about that. However, future expenses, annual future expenses times 25, or how much money per month will you need to have? $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month, and where's it going to come from? Buy a duplex, buy a 3-plex, buy a 4-plex. Let the rental make up that money. All right. It takes a lot less money to buy a 4-plex, a duplex, triplex, 4-plex than it does to get that same amount of income from your interest in the stock market. Right? If you live in it for 1 to 2 years, you can get an FHA loan. So we were looking at a 4-plex that cost $1 million in LA. In LA, y'all, multifamily homes cost less per square footage than single family homes. It was $1 million. That means we only had to put $30,000 down because my mom was going to live in it. So had we lived in it 1 or 2 years, or if my mom lived in it, all that, so we could get an FHA loan, 3% loan, right? And then all of the rest of that would pay for my mom, and then we could pay the mortgage, and then we could have some money also for us, because rents are high in LA. So Figure out how much money you need per month and where is that money going to come from. The quickest way to get it is through rental income. I know being a landlord is a pain in the butt, but it's better than showing up at somebody's job. I'd rather deal with some tenants than a racist boss any day of the week. How about you? I'd rather deal with trying to find somebody to replace that water heater or replace the dishwasher than showing up at somebody's job and having them say, "What do you mean you have another doctor's appointment? Didn't you just have one?"
Yeah.
I'm thinking through my first year. It will include travel, possibly slow travel.
Okay.
All right. You can save a lot of money with slow travel. We did a video where there were about 10 to 12 places that we identified that even as a digital nomad, you could live there for $1,500 a month. We checked the Airbnbs and the cost of living. You could live for $1,500 a month in all of these places around the world. You stay for 3 months, you stay for 6 months, etc., and just bop around and you can save money if you've got the kind of job that, again, getting back to baby girl who was talking about Panama, because you're bopping around, you're not a tax resident of any of these places. Now, I'm not a tax expert, and I know Katrina would probably say something different. You still have to pay American taxes, of course, but you're basically on vacation, just bopping around. Right? So, don't quote me on that. Check with your accountant. But as far as I can see, it's the way to go. I paid off my mortgage to accomplish my FU goal before I retired from my last job. All right, now, I love it. So even if she decides to bop around and someone else is living in her house, all of that is gravy. All right, let's get back to the last one and then we will wrap it up. So I'm just going to repeat: to deinstitutionalize or become uninstitutionalized from your job. Number one, separate your self-worth from your job. Number two,
take stock and understand your own self-worth.
Number three, identify, if you stay on your job, why you are not fulfilled. Number four,
manage financial concerns.
Number five, visualize your future life. That was my favorite thing to do. Number six,
seek support.
And then number seven, plan for the transition. So if you are at CoastFi, as we said before, and you want to start a CoastFi again, is when you have enough money put aside, but you need help with maintenance today, right? So maybe they call it barista-fi, like a little job at Starbucks, working 3 days a week is all the money you need to live the life that you want to live because you've got enough in savings and investments to meet the other needs. So that's why they call it CoastFi or barista-fi. The sky really is the limit in how much money you can make, especially if you want to go ahead and start a side hustle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can make so much money with 1/10 of the work. That's the thing. I'm sure many of you have read Tim Ferriss's book, A 4-Hour Weekday. I only know one or two people who worked in these huge, huge, huge corporations with so many levels of management that they literally were working 4 to 10 hours a week and making, over $150,000 a year. That's rare. If you're at that type of job, I don't know. Go ahead and get that money. Especially if you can do it from anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's remote. You ain't got to show up at nobody's team meetings and hear all that nonsense. Oh, can I touch your hair? And all that other nonsense. B.
You didn't really.
I did. I touched your hair.
Continue with the learner's mentality.
This is your opportunity to grow intellectually, to grow emotionally, to grow spiritually. You finally will have the time to do all of the stuff, the inner work that you've been wanting to do, but too stressed out, too tired, emotionally tired, and spiritually drained to even do it, right? Now is the time.
Start a side hustle doing something you love. And don't worry, not trying to find something you're going to make the most money at.
right? Something that you love, something that does not feel like work. For instance, like, okay, you know our story, but one of my favorite YouTubers is DIY Upcycle. No, DIY Blueprint. And she does upcycle. She goes thrifting, which I have always been a thrifter. From high school on, I would go to vintage clothing stores and go to thrift shops, and I would take the clothes, get on my sewing machine and fix them, change them, do this and that, and then show up at the school dance wearing something that didn't nobody have. I went to Beverly Hills High School, y'all. I could not afford to be buying the stuff that they were buying. So I had to do my own thing so that I could look Halisi chic. Right? So I say that to say, baby girl who runs that YouTube channel with 300,000 subscribers, I know is making six figures doing what she already was doing something that she loves that she would do for free. Then it's not work. It's not work. I mean, there's a couple of things like dealing with taxes and all of that. That part's work. But the actual stuff, and then who do you get to work with? You ain't got to worry about those microaggressions or none of that stuff. You get to work with people that you love, that you want to work with.
People say, "Oh, can I touch your hair?"
Doing a tenth of the work for triple the money without any stress and having fun. My biggest joy is when you all say, thank you. Now I know how to do X, Y, and Z, and I can see a light at the end of the tunnel. My day is made. My day is made at that point. It's like, this is why we show up every Sunday and make sure that we spread the joy, spread the love, right?
Yeah.
So start a side hustle based on what you love. Don't start a side hustle based upon what you think is going to make the most money, because you'll just be right back.
Spinning your wheels.
Yeah, and you'll just be right back where you started from, and unhappy, and that's not what we want for you. And then lastly, meditation, yoga, deep breathing exercises can cultivate self-awareness and presence in the moment and help you detach from external judgments and focus on your inner sense of worth and fulfillment. So start practicing these things now, this mindfulness, right? So that you can get in touch with what you are really feeling and what you are really thinking. So many of you, when we ask you questions, you're like, I never thought about that. Take the time to think about that. Think about what you really want. Think about what you are really feeling and be honest with yourself.
Yes.
Be honest with yourself. And then once you come to those conclusions, then you can make the changes that you want to make. Get out of that job, deinstitutionalize your mind, not just your mind, but your soul and your spirit from the oppression that is corporate America. All right, that's what we got for y'all. So let's see what you're saying, and then we are going to let you go. Hopefully, I cannot remember right now the name of the person who, I think it was Diane, who asked us to talk about that. If you had an unusual name, I would not have mentioned it, but there are plenty of Dianes that watch our channel. Okay. So I answered that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see what we've got. Okay, let's go back to this. How would you coach up the I'm writing out this hateful place and space until? I think we got to that. If money is not the issue, what is the issue? What is the issue? Have you really gotten in touch with what truly brings you joy and who you really are and what you truly value? And are your values not being respected on that job? Then why are you writing it out? Y'all, this is not a dress rehearsal. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is a take. And there's no do-overs. Unless you believe in reincarnation, but you ain't gonna do over in this time and space in this way, right? There is no do-overs. So take the leap, take the chance, and don't remain self-oppressed for reasons that you can't even identify. What? You can make six figures from YouTube CK. Didn't I tell you that when we met?
Yeah, I thought we did.
I thought we talked about that. So, okay, this is not what we're making, but let me tell you what the potential is. And the reason why we're like, oh, maybe we're not making documentaries, maybe we're making YouTubes. So, a young lady, she's so cute. She is a satirist and not really lifestyle. I'd say a satirist and kind of philosophier, life philosophies or whatever philosophies you can come up with at 25, 26, 27 years old. Anyway, her name is Kelly Stamps. And at this point, she probably has about 700,000 subscribers. But when I found her, she was at about 300,000 or 400,000. And she did a video on how she spends her $40,000 per month that she makes. Oh, you didn't hear me. $40,000 that she makes. Of that 40,000, about 9 to 10,000 she consistently got from YouTube ad revenue. For those of you who do not know, YouTube shares 51% of its ad revenue with their content creators, I think, which is better than what the networks pay the people who make those the TV shows that come on, cable and broadcast. Much more. much higher percentage. So any YouTuber that is getting on average somewhere in the line of 30 to 40,000 views per video is probably making somewhere between $8,000 and $12,000 a month just from ad revenue. That has nothing to do with any courses they create, nothing to do with any sponsorships they accept or anything else. Just let that sink in. Thanks so much, Sister Halisi and Mr. Rick. You're so welcome, Paris. So if I'm somewhere for a month, do digital nomad or just move smoothly, I got a plug for a VPN. I want to do scouting to see which country fits me. Great. That's how you can frame it, right? You are just traveling around looking for a place to call home, and you haven't decided where you were going to call that place, what place you're calling home. And right now, America's your home. You're paying American taxes, and that's all your company needs to know. I would still go ahead and call a real tax person, not H&R Block, where they just know how to do taxes. I mean an accountant, a certified accountant, and ask her, and somebody who does taxes for expats and or immigrants, people who leave the United States, and ask her, being out of the United States for 8 to 9 months per year, just bopping around, traveling, does that have any tax consequences? So just double check on that and you should be good to go. How much is a full-time maid in Portugal? I don't know, but the average wage in Portugal is 1,500 euro per month, which is about $1,650. Our housekeeper costs €8 per hour. I pay her 10, and she's usually here about 3 hours. When we were in Denver, just for the housekeepers to clean the main floor, which was only about 1,000 square feet, and the upstairs bathroom, they were charging me $140 for that same 3 hours. Big difference, right? Big difference. All right. I think we did it. Talking about how to deinstitutionalize yourself from a job, how to quit. So many of you have the money, but you're afraid to make that move. Do not let fear be the decider. And as Rick says, if moving out of the country is what you want to do not let desperation be your motivation. I really like how Halisi and Rick tell us the real deal whereas others would hide the secrets to making money. Oh, heck no.
Yeah, there's no reason to do that.
No. YouTube makes millionaires, y'all. YouTube makes millionaires. Don't get it twisted. Every time you do a search, it's on Google. The first search things that come up are YouTube. When I started searching become deinstitutionalized or uninstitutionalized from your job, the first thing that popped up was this video. And we hadn't even done it yet. That was the first thing in the search bar. And I always, when I do these searches, I always do them incognito so it doesn't have my history in the browser. So it wasn't because of that. But that's how good Google is. And I say that to say, when you're on YouTube, whatever it is, if you've got a side hustle, whether it is coach, whether you are a life coach, you're a money coach, you are a nutritionist, whatever it is that is your expertise, YouTube is the way that will bring customers to you. It will bring customers to you. All right.
Yeah.
And we just did a side hustle challenge, 3 weeks ago. We'll probably do another one maybe before we do the Move to Portugal Virtual Summit. It looks like we're going to be doing a Move to Mexico Virtual Summit with our friends Angela and Lamar in Querétaro. Stay tuned for that. We're going to see if there's enough interest. So with that, we love y'all. We're going to let you go, and we will see you next week. Bye, y'all.